Welcome to House of Cards, a video podcast hosted by Cardinal Points, the student-run independent newspaper at SUNY Plattsburgh. My name is Kaitlyn Bjelko. I'm the sports editor, and this podcast is hopefully discovering the more personal side of student athletes at SUNY Plattsburgh, having conversations, opening up, and just talking about how their seasons are going. Today, I'm joined by my guest host, Makai Bruce.
I'm Makai Bruce, staff writer for Cardinal Points.
And today we have Kaitlyn Bjelko from Plattsburgh's volleyball and track and field teams.
Hi, I'm Kaitlyn Bjelko. I'm a grad student and student athlete.
Awesome. Yeah, so you originally came to Plattsburgh to play volleyball, but since then you've joined the track and field team. That wasn't something you did in high school. The last time you did it was in seventh grade. So what was the process like finding interest in the sport and trying out and making the team?
Um, so it originally started obviously during volleyball season because that
Mhm.
was what I was recruited for. One of the girls on the team at the time was on the track team, and she was just kind of like, "Hey, I think you'd be good at throwing." And I was like, "Well, maybe. I've never done it before." And then once the season ended, I wasn't ready to be done with sports,
Mhm.
so I reached out to Coach Krug. And he was like, "Yeah, I'll get back to you. Watch out for an email." And the girl who was on the volleyball team was like, "No, you're coming to practice today." So she brought me to practice that day, and the tryout was interesting because I never was really told
Mhm.
if I was on or off the team. But I assumed once I went to the first meet that I was good to go, and it's been history since then.
Awesome. So when that was your first semester here, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you didn't really have a ton of time to, adapt to playing one sport and doing school, let alone two sports in doing school. But having never done track and field at the high school level, how did you adapt to playing a second sport while also doing a difficult study like you do?
Um, my life's always been super busy.
Mhm.
I played 3 sports in high school, and, I always have high expectations for myself. So, joining something new was scary, but exciting because it pushed me to new levels that I never thought I could have reached before. So, it was super fun.
Mhm. So having not done track at a high school level, where'd you find that passion to do it for all 5 years now that you've been here at Plattsburgh?
Um, that's a great question. I kind of fell in love with it right away. I don't know how or why, but I just enjoyed the personal level of it because, normal like volleyball or basketball or team sports are more focused on the team outcome. But track is individualized as well as a team sport. So I liked the individual aspect. I could focus on my performance and not worry about not doing well because it would impact the team. I mean, it still impacts the team because you get points and that impacts your score, but it's more of your individual performance that's focused on.
Mhm.
So basically, just fell in love with it, and that's that.
So what events did you start out doing, and how did that evolve over time to what you do now?
So I've always been in the throws.
Mhm.
Indoor was the first season I did, and there's only 2 events for throws in indoor.
Mhm.
There's weight throw and shot put, so I did both of those, and that was a difficult learning curve. And then outdoor, there's 4 events. There's shot put, discus, hammer throw, and javelin. So my freshman year, I started out doing everything, all the throws. Um, and I kind of picked up on some a little bit more than others. And discus was not my strong suit. So we kind of cut that out just to focus on the ones that I'm better at. Um, and that has helped because you only get 5 days a week to practice for Saturday, and if you're throwing 4 different events, you don't have very much time to work on specific, technique and skills. So cutting out the ones where you're struggling in a little bit more, uh, helps with the other events, and even, like, this past weekend, I only threw 2 events because uh, I have an elbow injury,
Mhm.
and we're kind of saving up my elbow energy, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Um, Saving up my elbow energy for when it really matters, like SUNYACs and regionals. So, yeah. And I get to throw discus one more time in my career. So I'm
Nice.
excited for that.
So you have somewhat of a difficult major, some would say, school psychology. So how have you balanced that major with along with two sports?
Um, it's definitely difficult. You always are busy. Um, but it's just finding that balance between doing your schoolwork, having a social life, and doing a sport. So for me, my social life is my sport, so that makes that part kind of easier. Um, and I've always been motivated in school, so that's um, not something. It came more naturally to me to be motivated in school and to do well in school. So
And have the two ever like interfered with one another? Like one thing is messing up one other thing?
um, in undergrad more than grad school, but um, in undergrad we'd have classes on Fridays, and we'd often travel on Fridays, so that would interfere with um, our class schedules. Last year, I had a final during regionals,
Oh,
so I
shit.
actually had
Wow.
to move my final forward so that I could take it early before we left.
Wow.
So just kind of balancing the schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned your social life being through sports. You do volleyball, which is a team sport, and then you do an individual sport in track. What are the biggest differences you found through doing two really different sports in that aspect?
In the social aspect.
In the social aspect, because with one you're competing together, on the court, and then
Mhm.
the other you're each doing your own individual events.
Yeah. So they're pretty similar. For volleyball, you are competing together,
Mhm.
so you get close that way. And for track and field, you're competing not as individually, but you're still rooting for your teammates. You still want to
Mhm.
see them succeed, and you want to see your team succeed. So it's similar in that aspect. Um, I'm a very personable person, so I don't have trouble getting along with other people usually. So I like everybody, and I make friends with everybody.
So through the lens of being an athlete, as opposed to socially, maybe in practices or on game day, how's it different in that way?
Practices for volleyball are very much team oriented. You're always doing the same drill, or based on position, you're doing the same drill as your teammates. Whereas track, you kind of, as you become more independent, you kind of know what to do during practice. I mean,
Mhm.
you can ask the coach for help, but we start practice on our own. We go into our drills on our own, and the coach really just helps us with like what we could better with our techniques. So that's kind of different. Um, yeah.
And you were here during the COVID-19 pandemic. So how would you say that affected you academically, personally, and athletically?
Um, Academically, I feel like it pushed me harder because I realized that not everything is always guaranteed. Um, and I also did have more time to focus on academics because the social life aspect and the athletic aspect were kind of pushed to the wayside. Um, Socially, I feel like I did okay. I was still working, so I still got to go out and see people.
Mhm.
I have 2 sisters, so I was socializing with them.
Right.
Uh, the athletic part during COVID was difficult because all the gyms were closed,
Mm.
all the athletic facilities were closed. So pushing yourself to get out on your own, like just outside and doing something, was a little bit more difficult for me, but I think I adapted pretty well.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're local, right, from Beekmantown.
Yes.
So were you you've never lived on campus, right?
No.
Okay. So how do you think that was different for you in that aspect that you're just been home the whole time versus like having to leave a dorm and coming back?
In the COVID aspect.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I feel like it was easier
Mhm.
because I didn't have to move my stuff out. It was hard to say goodbye to the people who were seniors.
Mhm.
But it I feel like it was an easier transition for me because I was already living at home.
Mhm.
So I didn't have to transition from being in a dorm to being back at home.
Yeah. And you said you were working. Where were you working at the time?
I was working at CVPH Hospital.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that you were in the middle. Were you in the middle of the outdoor season, or was that like between the two seasons
It
starting up?
was just before indoor nationals.
Oh, okay.
So we hadn't quite started outdoor nationals
Mhm.
yet or
So,
outdoor season yet.
right. So what was it like for just have to like put everything down and you're like you don't have a season anymore. You don't even know what the fall season is going to look like for volleyball. Having to completely set that aside, and you still have academics going. How'd that change your school experience?
Mm, it was hard not knowing when things were going to be okay again.
Mm,
We went into the fall semester after COVID had started, expecting to play volleyball. And I think a week or two before volleyball was supposed to start, they were like, we're shutting this down. We still have way too many COVID cases. We don't know how to deal with this stuff right now. And of course, the vaccine was just coming into swing. So that wasn't really playing a part in it yet. Um, but it was difficult. I think the most difficult part was not knowing when
Mhm.
we'd be able to play again.
for sure. And you're a graduate student right now. You're doing a grad program here at Plattsburgh. Did you did COVID affect your decision to do your grad year here, or was that did you always figure you were going to do that here?
Um, so honestly, up until I don't even know when, even through my senior year, I had no idea really what I wanted to do. I came in hot and ready to go, expecting to, become a doctor and do all that. And just through my experience here, I kind of realized that that wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I was still trying to figure that out through my senior year. So I don't think COVID really affected my decision at all to come here.
Mhm.
I kind of just was looking into programs of schools around here and saw what interests me, and that's kind of how I picked it.
And you were given that fifth year option by the NCAA, and you played your last volleyball season last fall. What was it like playing that season? Knowing that you'd already played your senior year, and this is absolutely it. Like there's nothing after that. What was that? How was that season different from seasons past?
Um, so I spent my senior season expecting it to be my last season because, of course, I didn't know
Okay.
what I was going to be doing after that. Um, so I really just considered this whole year to be a bonus season
Okay.
because I wasn't expecting to come back. So I'm really trying to just take advantage of my last year, and you don't get to be an athlete forever. So
Right.
So this is gonna be your last indoor track year. So how do you feel about that?
it was emotional
Yeah.
at SUNYX mostly. Um, just knowing that I'm never gonna perform indoor again. Um, I still have outdoor,
Mhm.
luckily, but after that, I'm like, it's so hard to let go of a piece of your heart almost. If you fall in love with the sport you're playing, and it's really hard to let go of that.
Um, so yeah, two different, not an experience a lot of Cardinals get to go through having to say goodbye to two different sports. It's probably difficult to choose between the two, but what do you think you're gonna look back on in a couple years and miss the most?
Ah, it is difficult.
Yeah.
I would say track, just because just that love for the sport again. I love volleyball.
Mhm.
I played it for 10 years, I want to say. Um, but just seeing the improvement in such a short amount of time made me really want to strive for doing well, and just the social aspect. So like at track meets, we'll see the same people multiple times during a season, and just getting that kind of connection with other teams that you don't really get that in volleyball because you're always competing against them, which you're doing in track too, but you want to be the winner of the two teams.
Mhm.
But in track, it's like you want to see everyone do well, even if they happen to perform better than you on that day. Or the next time you see them, you might perform better than them. So that's kind of.
So, would you say like you're kind of ready to move on and go into the next chapter of your life, or you're still having kind of like doubts?
I don't think I'm ready to move on, but I think it's something that's got to happen. You know, nobody likes change really.
Mhm.
So just moving on is something that happens in life, and I'm sure once I'm out of it, I'll be like, I've got so much free time.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Yeah. This past season, Plattsburgh had its first indoor meet in what, like 20 something years. And to be able to be a part of that and that be where you're honored as a senior and hitting 12.42 in shot put, looking back, what was that meet like for you, and how are you going to remember that?
For me, that meet was very euphoric. Um, just being at home, seeing other people compete in our facility, which has never happened in my 5 years,
Mhm.
was really exciting. My family was able to come. All my friends from school were able to come, which was different than traveling because nobody from at least from school can travel 2, 4, 6 hours away to see that. And just the support that we had, especially in the throws and the field events, because our track is a little bit on the smaller side, so we only ran the shorter events. So we had more opportunity for our field events. Just seeing the support for those events was exciting.
So saying that you're going to miss track the most, and for this to be, I mean, you're competing at regionals in multiple different years and multiple different events. You had shot put and hammer outdoor last year, and you had shot put indoor this year. Um, for you to be able to pick up that sport so fast, and for you to, you just said you're going to miss that the most. Do you feel like that came super naturally to you, or was that the result of a lot of hard work? Um, I don't know, how comfortable are you with that?
Um, I think it was both. I
Mhm,
think I have a pretty good build to be a thrower,
mhm,
and I do work really hard at. I go to lifts every time that we're supposed to go lifts. I push myself to lift heavier weights. I work hard at my technical aspects, but I also feel like it somewhat came naturally. And all the support from the upperclassmen when I came in was really what pushed me to do better. And seeing my uh, she graduated last year with me.
mm,
I got to come back. She unfortunately did not, but she really pushed me to do my best, and she was always so supportive. And she was the only other thrower that went through all 4 years with me, so we
mhm.
really formed that close connection. And yeah, I think that's kind of what just support from the team and the coaches, and that really helped me.
And who was that you were referring to?
Journey Myricks.
Okay, Journey.
Yeah.
Because Brianna was the one that Brianna Kuhn
Yes.
got you into track and field.
Yeah.
Um, so what would you say your best event is right now?
Right now, I would say shot put.
Okay, and why is that?
Cause I throw the furthest. uh,
And would you say you prefer indoor or outdoor?
I prefer outdoor
Mhm,
just because there are more fun events in my opinion.
mhm.
Hammer throw, you get to spin really fast in a circle, and javelin, that's pretty fun too. That's not in indoor.
Right, that could be
Um,
scary.
Shot put is both. I like shot put, but I like outdoor because you get the extra bonus
For sure.
throws.
And yeah, so outdoor is already underway. Had two meets so far. You've already qualified for regionals, already qualified for SUNYACs. You can just take the rest of the season off. um, what can you say about how the season's going so far?
Um, it's going well, but I always want to push to be better.
Right.
I want to push my indoor mark for shot put into outdoor. I haven't hit 12 yet, but we're hoping to hit that soon.
Mhm.
Working really hard at that. I'm trying to improve my marks for. I am qualified for all three of my main events that I do in SUNYX, but I'm trying to improve my marks so that I can hopefully get up on the list a little bit higher,
Mhm.
maybe into the top 5
Be awesome.
if we're if we're gonna go that far. But that would be the hopes for this season.
What are the major differences do you think between throwing shot put indoor and outdoor?
Um, there are definitely differences.
Okay.
You wouldn't think there are very many.
Mhm.
There aren't very many, but the size of the shot put. So the shot put outdoor is a little bit smaller and it's made of metal. And the shot put indoor is made of plastic and it's filled with like sand.
Mhm.
So it still weighs the same, but it's a little bit bigger and it's made of a different material. Of course, the temperature plays an impact if you're sitting outside in 40-degree weather all day as opposed to 70 inside. Um, I think it's definitely more difficult to perform well outdoor based on my performances and other people in the SUNYAC that I've seen. Um, those are, I think, the main differences. Not too many of them, but
For sure.
And how do you anticipate keeping sports in your life after your college career is over?
I'm hoping I will be working in a school
Mhm.
as my full time career. So I'm hoping to get into put my foot in the door in the coaching realm,
Mm.
which I know is a lot different
That'd be
than,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot different than playing the sport,
Mhm.
but just sticking with the sport, even if it's in a different capacity.
Yeah. What do you think you've picked up from your career that makes you want to do coaching or you think would make you good at coaching?
Um, there's a lot for throws. There's
Mhm.
a lot of one on one time
Okay.
spent with each individual. So Coach Krug will be working with one athlete, helping to improve their throws while another person's in the circle throwing. And I've just from the upperclassmen when I was a freshman, I've learned that like we help out each other. So I'll watch the person throw and I'll be like, "Oh, you could have like your footwork needs a little working on or you could have put a little more power behind it or stuff like that." So just helping my teammates and see them improve from how I've helped them. It's really inspiring.
What level would you want to do that at? If you had the choice between high school and college.
If I had the choice, I would like to do college, but I
Mhm.
know it's a little bit harder to get in at the college level.
Mhm.
So maybe starting at the high school level and working my way up.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And yeah, so you got another year here with your grad program and then an internship. So what do you think is going to be like being on campus and not having practice and not being able to go out with your team and not having a sport? What's it going to be like to be a regular student again?
I honestly have no idea.
Really?
I don't know what it's gonna be like at all. I'm gonna have way more free time.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I'm gonna have to go to the gym and actually like work out on my own time.
Right.
Um, it's gonna be difficult to know that my previous teammates are practicing in the building right next door,
Hmm.
and I'm sitting in class not practicing.
Right. Yeah.
So it's definitely gonna be hard, I think, but focusing on academics is gonna help with that, I think.
Do you think you'd want to pick up a role as like a grad assistant, kind of like maybe with volleyball, like a Maddie Zophie or a Alexis Hawks role, or maybe even with track? Have you thought about that?
If I had the opportunity
Mhm.
and the time, that's definitely something I would think about doing.
Mhm.
Great resume booster.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it just keeps you involved with the team, which I would enjoy.
So yeah, so you mentioned way earlier, maybe like 20 minutes ago, about you. So you originally wanted to be a doctor, and now you're focusing more on school, like schools, like it's school psychology now, right?
Yeah.
What do you anticipate doing with your career? Like, what do you like? It's like you ask a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Um, I'm planning on working in a school
Mm-hmm.
as a school psychologist for at least a few years
Okay.
and kind of see if it's really the right fit for me because you never really know until you try something out.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of want to see if it's the right fit for me. If it's not, maybe try to go into administration, like principal, dean of students, something like that, or maybe just change paths altogether. Maybe athletic training. I mean, you never know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So would you ever think about trying to pick up another sport just in your leisure time?
If there were like leagues or something, I definitely would. There's a volleyball league that plays every Sunday, and I sub in for them sometimes. So I've next year or years after when I have more
Mhm.
time for that kind of stuff, I would love to do stuff like that.
So you mentioned that you go into schools as a part of your education. What's that like? Like in addition to just going to classes here, that you're going to actual like what is it, elementary
Yeah.
schools? Elementary schools.
Um, I think it's a great opportunity.
Mm.
A lot of school psychology programs don't get you into schools until the second or even your internship year is your first year.
Oh wow.
So having that experience, even just in a school climate, maybe not necessarily doing the stuff that you're going to be doing as a school psychologist, but just getting the experience in a school with kids and working with kids and interacting in ways that you would interact with in your job. So getting that experience early is definitely a perk.
What do you think it is that keeps has you like impassioned about like working with kids? Is there anything
um, I think kids deserve the world.
really?
They are the future. Um, they just seem so innocent all the time.
Yeah, as
And
opposed to us now. And
yeah.
no, I worked daycare for a while. I was at my YMCA at home. I did a summer camp and I did like a daycare program. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't get it. So what kind of with school psychology? What do you what does that actually entail?
Um, it's a lot of counseling
Okay.
and um testing.
Mhm.
So you're going to be like testing for academic skills or cognitive skills to try to identify students with learning disabilities or other types of disabilities that would impact their learning in school.
So how are you gonna remember your time in Plattsburgh these 5 years? How would you like just wrap it up and just describe it briefly?
Um, it was a really good time, I guess. um, I definitely will always remember these years. Um, the experiences I've had have been unforgettable. Going to new places, meeting new people, experiencing things that I never thought I would experience. Volleyball, we went to Niagara Falls, which I had never gone to before.
Oh,
Mm.
So that's cool. Um, I think just the people have really played a huge impact on my life and how I'll remember my experience here.
do you have a favorite moment from your sporting career?
Um, I would say uh our indoor track meet that was here.
Yeah.
It was just so exciting and everyone was so supportive and it was so exciting. I spent the whole day when I walked in the door I was like, "I am so excited." I said it out loud probably 30 times. "I'm
Really
so excited." So that's definitely a highlight of my career.
awesome. Yeah, that's everything we had, Caitlin. We've run out of time, so again, thank you very much for joining us. And thank you for joining House of Cards.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. All right. And thank you for watching at home. You can join us again for another episode in 2 weeks. Guest to be announced. We'll find somebody before then. But this has been Kaitlyn Bjelko of the volleyball and track and field teams. Thank you very much.